And hello, Jets fans. And unfortunately, the worst fear has been confirmed. Breece Hall is out for the season with a torn ACL and a meniscus injury, which is an absolute gut punch for the Jets fans. There's so much to get into on this. And look, let's just start off with this. This sucks. I mean, you're not only because of what Breece brought to this team, but for Breece personally, because I really do believe that Breece Hall was going to run away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year award this year. He was that good. He was that talented. I truly thought that Breece Hall would be the Offensive Rookie of the Year for this New York Jet team. And let's be frank, it is an absolute gut punch. It is horrific. If I had to find a silver lining in all this, is the simple fact that Breece is taking this positively, and the timing for the ACL injury is definitely sucks. And look, I've been seeing it all day today. Some people posting same old Jets on Twitter with the injuries, but look, injuries happen in the NFL. We see players go down. Matt Ryan went down for the Colts today. So look, the Jets cannot use the injuries as an excuse. The good news for Breece Hall, at least for the Jets, is he should be back with the timeline for the ACL at the beginning of next season. And look, ACLs, it's not the end of their career. And I truly believe Breece Hall is going to have a monster year next year. And because I think he's going to want to prove that he's healthy and go out and have a monster year and avenge not getting the Offensive Rookie of the Year and prove that he is one of the better backs in the NFL. So let's be frank. It is a gut punch. It's horrific. It is terrible that Hall is out for this season, but there are some silver linings. The first silver lining is the Jets hit on that pick. The Jets hit a home run with this draft pick, and you feel Breece Hall is going to be a great playmaker for this team in the future. It sucks how the first year ended, but the timeline also helps the Jets where he should be ready to go early next season. Maybe at the most misses the first week, but should be ready to make a big impact for this team next year. And the Jets hit on that draft pick. They hit a home run. They have a game-changing home run hitter in the backfield. But the biggest question now is, where do the Jets go from here? And we talked about this on the live stream last night. If you're just joining us, please give us a follow. We do live streams after every Jets game. We had a huge breakdown of the Jets game last night. And this was, of course, one of the major topics that we discussed was Breece Hall and the impact of this injury. And let's be honest, it's not good. It's frustrating. It pisses you off as a Jet fan. But the other thing that this does is it does put a lot of pressure on this coaching staff and Zach Wilson. And let's also be frank, too. The Jets, they cannot use this as an excuse. They're a 5-2 football team. Every team around the NFL has major injuries, and you usually use at least one really key piece. And the Jets have lost key offensive linemen, but this is really going to be a big loss. Now, they do have Michael Carter, who's a running back I do really like. I think Michael Carter can be a serviceable running back. But I've also seen a lot on Twitter that people are going, oh, Zonovan Knight should be the answer, or, they'll be fine with the running backs. And could the Jets be fine with the running backs they currently have? Sure. But if I'm the New York Jets today, I think that they have to be aggressive. And a lot of people have been saying, well, Joe Douglas isn't going to do this. But Joe Douglas has been aggressive. He was aggressive in trying to get Tyreek Hill here. He was aggressive in trading up to get Breece Hall. He was aggressive to get up and get Elijah Vera Tucker. And I do believe the Jets are going to trade for a running back at the deadline for a couple of reasons. The first reason is they need another playmaker. Look, you're not going to replace Breece Hall's production. That's not going to happen. But can you get another really good, young, serviceable running back for a day 3 pick? And if you have to, a third-round pick, I'd do it. Because the Jets also have to realize what's at stake here. They have the third best record currently in the AFC. Just a reminder, guys, if the Jets finish this season at 5-5, they go 500 the rest of the way, they're going to be a 10-win football team. And the expectations around this team have changed. They have a great defense. They have an offense with some playmakers. They should be able to get to the playoffs, and the playoffs has to be the goal now. And for Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, they should try to get to the playoffs for multiple reasons. First of all, then this 12-year playoff drought. But secondly, if they're able to get the Jets to the playoff, if Robert Saleh is able to take the Jets from a 2-win team taking over a 2-win football team to the playoffs in his second year, that gives him job security. Joe Douglas, who's had a long runway to build this, if he gets the Jets to the playoffs, you have to figure his job is protected. So there's a lot at stake with this job. Look, if the Jets are competing for the playoffs, they're still going to have their jobs and security, but it just adds a little bit extra if this team makes the playoffs and over exceeds those expectations. So let's get down to brass tacks. The first call I would make would be Cleveland, because Cleveland's season has been derailed for months, basically. They've said all the right things, and, we'll survive until Deshaun gets back. But basically, the second Deshaun Watson was going to miss 11 games, you knew that this season was going to be, unless something miraculous happened, or let's say they were 6-5, that they were not going to compete or realistically compete. Right now, the Browns are 2-5. The first call I would make would be Kareem Hunt. And if there's a running back in the NFL right now that I'm willing to give up a third-round pick for, none of these other guys I would give up a third, but if I was to give up a third-round draft pick and I know it's a rental for Kareem Hunt, I'd do it. And personally, I think Kareem Hunt and his camp would love this. Kareem Hunt, 27. Kareem's got free agency in front of him. He needs a big year. And look, he's stuck behind Nick Chubb. He wants his touches. Yes, he got a contract with Cleveland 2 years ago. It was a decent contract and paid well for a backup running back, but this is really the last time he's going to hit the market. 27 years old, and we've seen the running back market. It's not great. This is probably his last chance to get a big contract, and with the Jets, he would clearly be the number one back, and he still has the home run hitting ability. Of all the backs I'm going to mention, the biggest playmaker of the bunch is Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt could be here, easily be the number one back, gives this team a home run hitting potential running back, and I would be aggressive and try to do it. Could they also maybe sweeten the deal and maybe get a fourth-round pick, trade a fourth-round pick with Breece Hall? Like, could they maybe trade one of their players and maybe not trade up a third-round pick? But at this point, too, I love draft picks. I know Joe Douglas loves draft picks, and I know the Jets have loved hoarding their draft picks for years. But the thing with hoarding draft picks is the Jets have hit the last two drafts. And you get to a point now where you have to look at your draft and go, are we going to find a guy in the third or fourth round that's going to make this big of an impact on our team, or that might even make our team, because the Jets have so much depth right now? And if I'm the Jets, I'd take a swing at Kareem Hunt, but I'd also keep an eye on Cleveland. If they're not willing to give up Hunt, I would also look at Dearness Johnson. I really like the kid. He's a young kid. He's in the final year of his contract, 25 years old. Probably would cost a lot less than Kareem Hunt, but when he's been asked to fill in for Cleveland, he's done a really good running back. I think he's a name that gets kind of lost in the shuffle, and for him, this would be a great opportunity for him as well. The one name I keep seeing get thrown out there is Cam Akers. Now, personally, I would avoid Cam Akers at all costs. I know it's been a popular name on Twitter. I know it's been one of the names that have been mentioned, but I think that there's better names out there. But also at the same time, I really do believe that there is more that fit the culture better. So Breece Hall also tweeting out, go, appreciate the endless love and support. Another step along the journey. Seeing you all soon. Look, I think he's going to have a great year next year. And even though it sucks, the Jets hit a home run with that pick. It's clear the Jets hit not even a home run, you can argue a grand slam at this point. But I would avoid Cam Akers at all costs. Because with Cam Akers, they've had so many issues with him. And if you can't get along with Sean McVay, who's one of the biggest player coaches and one of the guys that people absolutely love playing for, I have concerns. And you want to talk about upsetting the apple cart and upsetting the locker room. I know the Jets have dealt with the Elijah Moore situation. I wouldn't take a risk on that guy. I think there's other guys out there too that are personally better fits. A team I would really keep an eye on, especially depending on how the game goes tonight, would be the Chicago Bears. If the Bears lose tonight and they fall to 2-5, and I actually have another thought on the Browns. So before I get to the Bears, let me finish the Browns thought. Another reason I think the Browns would be an enticing partner too, and why the Jets make a lot of sense, is Cleveland's not going anywhere this year. They're a mess, but they also traded all those draft picks. They don't have a first round pick next year. Now, the Jets are not going to give up a second for Kareem Hunt, but Cleveland, with their lack of draft picks right now, I think they would love getting a third round pick. So the draft capital is also a huge reason. Now, the Bears are another intriguing team for me because I know David Montgomery isn't a huge name and isn't a sexy name for a lot of people, but I think he's a very serviceable running back. Now, after Kareem Hunt, I don't think that there's good running backs. I don't think there's necessarily a home run hitter out there. I mean, Montgomery's still 25 years old. I think he's a solid running back. I'm trying to remember what his contract situation is currently right now with the Bears, but uh, he looks so far this season. He's been a lot of that too is, I mean, 4 yards per carry, but a lot of that to me is also just been had a horrible offensive line. And the Bears could be an intriguing place because I've always said Denzel Mims, depending on what the Jets feel about Mims, the Bears clearly need a receiver. And before you put it in the comments, and I will get to you in a second, the Jets are not trading Elijah Moore. That's not happening. But could they trade Denzel Mims maybe for David Montgomery and throw in like a 6th-round pick to get Montgomery? Or maybe even the Bears might consider doing a straight up so they can get their younger running back, Khalil Herbert, more time. I'd consider it. I think Montgomery could be a good running back. It'd be a nice fit for this Jet team. A name I really love is James Robinson from Jacksonville. Now, he didn't get a single touch against the Giants. I'm wondering what his health is. If he's healthy, though, I mean, this is someone that had 4 touchdowns in the first 3 games with Jacksonville. And it's clear that they really love ETN. ETN, they've invested a first-round pick in. ETN, of course, the close relationship with Trevor Lawrence. And also, Jacksonville is 2-5. I think that they might be willing to listen to offers on Robinson. And look, I think Robinson's a very good running back and probably the most underrated running back in the entire league right now. And a lot of these guys, if you notice, they're on the last year of their contract or their cheaper cap hits. The big cap hit would be Kareem Hunt. But I mean, this is also from Rich Samini. I'll be curious to see if the Jets call Browns to check Kareem Hunt's availability. He's in the final years of his contract, so it would be a rental. Talent is there. Browns need draft pick. Depends on the price tag. The Jets, too, like, I understand that they could have that the Jets could also be confident in Michael Carter. I still think Michael Carter is a starting caliber running back. But the reason I would also make a trade, too, is the Jets now are getting a little thin at the running back position. You don't want a situation where Michael Carter gets nicked up for a game or two, and then Ty Johnson's your lead running back, and Zonovan Knight's your number 2. The Jets' identity, and they're at their best, is when they're running the football effectively this year. And while a lot of pressure is going to be on Zach, and Zach is absolutely going to have to step up over these next couple of weeks, the Jets want to be a run-first football team, I think. I really do think that they want to go out there. And another guy I'd also look at, too, is Elijah Mitchell out in San Francisco. I mean, now they've traded for Christian McCaffrey. They've traded a boatload of picks for Christian McCaffrey. The Jets obviously have a connection with the 49ers. Could they maybe be looking to move one of their running backs? Is there a running back that the Jets really like out there? Like, that's another team we have to consider. The Jets have a close relationship with the Eagles. I doubt the Eagles are going to move off their running back. They're not going to upset anything. But look, we've seen stranger things happen in the NFL, and maybe there's a guy out there the Jets like, but I don't think they can just sit here and do nothing. But let's get to some of your comments. So a lot of good comments. Let's see. Look, I don't think the season's over. The season's not over. It's obviously a big loss, but look, let's also put it this way too. The Jets cannot lose their entire season because their running back goes down. And as great as the running back he is, no great team should be completely derailed by the running back. I don't hate the committee. I just feel like they still need to add a piece. And to me, Hunt to me would be the biggest price acquisition. The other guys could be the number 1 running backs. Robinson's got a bit of explosiveness, but obviously not to this point that Breece Hall does. I mean, I would consider those, but Hunt to me, if you could get him, also I think he'd love coming to the Jets just because it gets him on the big stage. If he produces over these next couple of weeks, he could get a massive payday. And let's be honest, if the Jets, even if for a 3rd-round pick, which is a little bit pricey, if you can get Kareem Hunt to be a good running back and get this to the playoffs, it's absolutely worth it. It was absolutely worth it. And look, you're not going to completely replace the production, so don't even try to say you're going to replace production. Jeff Wilson, I think Jeff Wilson would be another good fit. I really do like Wilson. It's clear that he's fallen down the depth chart, and I don't think he'd cost too much from San Francisco. And in some regards, San Francisco might want to get a draft pick back for him because they just traded 4 picks for Christian McCaffrey. So it could be a good opportunity. Now, that would obviously be a running back by committee. And the other reason I think the Jets are going to do this is because they want to be a running back by committee. Even with Breece Hall, Michael Carter still was getting a ton of touches in this offense. When San Francisco's great, they have 2 or 3 running backs in rotation. And while the Jets could win with a rotation right now, it's going to be a lot harder. And I just feel like they're going to need a boost of talent. And there's running backs out there because running back is such a devalued position. And there's also a bunch of teams that are going to be out of it at the trade deadline and are looking already forward to next year. Cleveland makes the most sense to me because of the Watson trade, how deprived of picks they are, that they're going to want to get some assets back. And look, Kareem Hunt's probably going to walk at the end of the season, so they might as well get something for him. And even D'Ernest Johnson, another imposing free agent, but I really like his skill set. I don't think he's obviously the home run hitter Hunt is, but if the Jets don't want to play that premium price, I think he'd be a good fill-in too that people are overlooking. But look, just the fact that I've mentioned like 7 or 8 running backs, the Jets can make a move and it shouldn't cost them a lot. And here's another intriguing factor that I really think could factor into the Jets adding a running back. If a team needs a corner, that will really be helpful because the Jets have some trade pieces. They have Breece Hall, who's been inactive. They could move him. Mims, I think, will be trickier to move just because of the uncertainty now with Elijah Moore, although I do think that will eventually get figured out. And also now Corey Davis getting banged up, although it doesn't seem as serious. So Mims will be probably harder to trade now. But Breece Hall, though, if the Jets could find a team, now the Bears I don't think need a corner, but could, let's say, Cleveland maybe try to find a young, inexpensive corner as part of a piece. Like, could that be a part of the trade value too? Could San Francisco really like Breece Hall and say, look, we'll trade him straight up, or we'll trade him, give us a Hall in the 7th, and we'll gladly move up and we'll give you a running back. So I also think that you have to consider that too. I don't think it might just be a straight draft pick. But Hunt to me would be the first call. D'Ernest Johnson would be too, because you also have to look at teams that are fully rebuilding. Robinson is weird in Jacksonville because even though they're 2-5, could Jacksonville still think they can make a run? Maybe. But more importantly, I think that the fact that they're going to try to make life easier for Trevor Lawrence and Jeff Wilson, who is plummeting down the depth chart of the McCaffrey trade. We also know San Francisco loves depth, so I'm not sure how much he's going to be moved. If Wilson ever lived to have his potential, I'm going to be worried about this. Look, Wilson's still young. He just went against the best pass defense in the NFL. Let's see how he does. And look, the other thing I said last night, which might get a lot of controversial comments about this, but one thing that the Breece Hall injury will add is some more clarity, which is I've said that all along. This season wasn't necessarily about the wins, although now you want this team to make the playoffs. This season's about getting an answer on Zach. Is Zach the guy or not? And you're going to see now where if Breece Hall is healthy this entire year, could you maybe at the end of the year going, well, Jets ran the ball all the time and they didn't really have to have Zach come from behind or play in tough situations. But now we're going to see, can Zach help elevate this team? We saw it against the Steelers. He played well down the stretch in that game, and he helped win that game. And while he is 4-0 as a starter, there's going to be a lot of clarity. Can Wilson elevate this team around him and overcome this injury? And we are going to see. So let's see. But the bright side, maybe Wilson is just, I still trust in Zach Wilson. Next 2 weeks, you will know if Zach's the guy. I still think that's a bit of a stretch, Jacob. Look, the next 3 weeks are tough. It's against two of the best defenses in the NFL and 2 of the best pass defenses. And look, if you're expecting Zach Wilson to throw for 303 touchdowns, I think you're going to be disappointed. I really do think it's going to come down to the final 7 games because you're playing against teams the Jets should at least be favored or close to those opponents. Jets' schedule is a lot easier in that part of the year. And that's a time of year where Zach Wilson should go against defenses that aren't nearly this good and should be able to feast a little bit. And if he isn't, I do think you'll have your answer. Right now, looking into the draft can't be ruled out. Like, what are you talking about? The quarterback? The Jets, Jesus. I love how this is getting off the tracks here, too. I mean, people realize the Jets have the third best record in the AFC. The people realize that the Jets have a 5-2 record. Do Jet fans, do you remember the Jets have won 6 games over the last 2 seasons? Jets have already won 5 freaking games. I mean, God. But look, garbage teams, like, look, he's got to play well against he wanted to play well against those teams. But if the Jets don't make the playoffs because of Zach Wilson, you're going to have an answer, because you feel, I said this last night, you feel with this roster that they have the GM in place. You now feel they have the coach in place. You feel this team has the talent in place around the quarterback. It's going to be on Zach. And the good news for the Jets is you're going to have an answer on Zach. And it's up to Zach to sink or swim. Now, Zach has helped in the sense that his mobility has allowed him to avoid the pass rush and be able to stay out of harm's way. But he's also got to be better of him. And yeah, they are winning a bit in spite of him. But I will also argue, too, there's a reason the Jets are 4-0 with Zach. It's because he's helped elevate an offensive line that is belligered by injuries right now. Zach, we also have to remember, was the one that led them from down 2 scores in the Pittsburgh game against a good defense. If it wasn't for Zach, they don't win that football game. He was highly efficient against the Dolphins. It wasn't the sexy stat game, but he made plays and made plays from the count. And even the Packers game, I understand that people love to kill Zach Wilson, and it was a bad game. But the play of the game came when he hit Corey Davis on that 41-yard touchdown pass. That changed the game. That put the Jets in a positive place, and that put the Jets in a position to win. Yes, last week was rough to watch. Yes, Zach was not good last week. But in spite of all that, did not turn the football over, was 16 of 26. I did say last night, I am worried about some of the short inaccuracies. I do see some red flags that are a bit concerning about Zach. But there's let's put it this way. People are still killing Zach and winning in spite of him. The Jets are also winning some of these games because of Zach, because of his mobility, because he's not a freaking tree in the pocket, because he's someone that can run and avoid the contact, because he's someone that can buy time with a horrendous offensive line at times in front of him. So, look, I would love to see the Jets add more offensive line, but to me, offensive lines are premium. Running backs for teams that are not in the playoff picture are going to be more available. Even if Zach plays like Zach, we're out positioned for a New York rookie quarterback. We're stuck. Look, it's. I love how people like this is like this is. I don't get it, guys. Like, I get the Breece Hall injury freaking sucks, but I've never seen a fan base this negative about being 5-2, having the third best record in the AFC, and the Jets have won 4 games in a row. I mean, guys, I keep trying to remind people, at this time last year, we were talking tankathon, who would be the number, where the Jets draft picks would be. Like, the last 10 years we've been discussing at this time where in God's name the Jets are going to be drafting before Halloween. And we're actually talking about a team that can make the playoffs. So, and look, this offense is going to come down to basically getting the playmakers more involved. They need to figure out how they're going to be able to get more playmakers involved. They need to figure out how to get Elijah Moore more involved in this offense, get more touches. And an intriguing player for this team going down the stretch is going to be Braxton Berrios. Because for me, Braxton Berrios could be this team's poor man Deebo Samuel. And what I mean by that is, yes, he's a wide receiver, but I feel like he's a better runner than he is a receiver. The Jets, you saw it used on yesterday. You saw the big play in the Packer game. Look, because of his returning skills, he's unbelievable at finding holds and reading defenses. They need to get him more involved. Like, even if he has to line up as a running back on some plays, Braxton Berrios, in my opinion, should be getting at least 10 carries a game. Whether it's on the Jets sweeps, whether it's him in the backfield, he is a dynamic runner for this team. And he is someone that has explosiveness and is someone that can hit a home run. I love Michael Carter a lot as a running back, but even he doesn't seem to have that home run gear. He's a really good doubles and triple hitter, but even despite Barrios' sometimes limitations as a receiver, he can hit a home run. And we've seen that. And I think that the Jets need to figure out how to get him involved. Let's see. Being the Packers isn't that impressive anymore. Look, the Jets also won back-to-back home road games. They're 4-0 on the freaking road, guys. I don't care how bad the teams are. Denver is one of the hardest places to win in the NFL. Green Bay is one of the hardest places to win in the NFL, and they did it in back-to-back weeks. I mean, look, if the Jets win, are we ever going to give them some credit? I mean, they're on the schedule. The Jets, even if the teams aren't playing well, the Jets have to be able to win those games, and they're winning these games. So, like, I don't get I really don't get what the frustration is today, and I really don't get what a lot of this negativity is. And I get maybe it's coming from the Breece Hall injury, which again, I will reiterate, it sucks. You hate seeing that. You see a talented kid that you really feel like the sky was the limit. Look, it's incredibly frustrating, but good teams have to figure out ways to win. And the Jets have figured out ways to win. And despite their limitations, they have found ways to win football games. And yesterday was a game the Jets would have blown in the past. The Packers game was a way the old Jets would find ways to lose those games. The new Jets, they are finding ways to win these games. And I still feel that at this trade deadline, they have to be aggressive. They are turning around the culture. They are winning football games. And look, like I said, they don't have to be great down the stretch because of their record. They can go 5-5. Hell, they can go 4-6 and have a winning record and have a good shot to get to the playoffs. If they win 10 games, I think it's going to be hard for them not to be a wild card team. It's still going to be tough. They still have a tough division. The Patriots are going to be a tough out. I do think they need a split. This is going to be the game I would try to get against the Patriots at the home game. The Bills, you got to play twice this year. Those will be tough. Miami, I think, is still beatable. But I still think that this Jet team has at least put themselves in position. I keep telling Jet fans, if I was to tell you before the season the Jets would be 5-2 at this point, you would think I was crazy, and that's because everyone was healthy. And even if the Jets didn't have, and then if Zach was injured the first 3 games, you're like, there's no way they're going to get to 5-2. The Jets are 5-2. I was saying the Jets coming into the season, I said to get to the bye, if they were 3-6, I thought they'd be in great shape. They've already exceeded those expectations, and they've also won more games. I have to remind people this. The Jets have won more games this year than they won all of last year. The Jets are 1 win away from tying the amount of wins they've had over the previous 2 seasons. The Jets are off to their best start since 2010. There are Jet fans that are driving a car now that have probably never experienced this type of a start to a season. So, let's see. Lots of comments. Breece was a unicorn. He can't be replaced, but we can still run with a decent O-line. Our identity is defense. We are 5-2. Let's go. You're right, Spin Max. And look, I think you can't replace it, but you can help with the production. I still feel like there's running backs. James Robinson, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson. There's running backs I do think the Jets can get. Now, I've seen some people saying the free agent market. I don't really love the free agent market. I've also seen people run it back. And my biggest reason why I think they have to get a running back is just to protect themselves. I don't think the running back by committee is horrible, but like I said, we are 1 hit away with Michael Carter, who also got banged up last year, I have to remind people, from having Ty Johnson be this team's lead back, from having Zonovan Knight, an undrafted rookie, being this team's potential number 1 back. For a team that wants to rely on defense, control the clock, and run the football, that's not good. And there's options out there. And the Jets are in a position where they can be buyers. They can be aggressive at the trade deadline and really target teams like the Browns that are looking already to next year and want draft picks. So let's see. These wins feel like fool's gold now. Like the Jets have, so are the Giants 6 wins all fool's gold? Like, are those all fool's gold because they're 6-1? Like, have I been thoroughly impressed with the Giants? I don't think the Giants are the hardest team to read because I don't think they're great, but they're winning football games. The Jets are winning football games. Like, fool's gold. Like, okay, you know what fool's gold is? Fool's gold is the freaking 2015 Jets, where basically the stars all align. You got the best performance probably out of Ryan Fitzpatrick. You basically sold your soul to try to get a wild card berth that year, and it ended in freaking disaster. That was fool's gold. That was not sustainable. That wasn't real. This Jet team still has young, dynamic players on this team. This team still has a bright future. Like, this is the thing Jet fans also should be excited for. I think this is just the beginning. I think the Jets have overexceeded expectations this year. The Jets have hit a home run with this rookie class. The Jets have done great the last 2 drafts. The Jets have a good young core of players and a good young roster of players that are likely going to keep getting better. I just think that's crazy. Yeah, what is with like the QB? Like, everyone's QB. Look, and no one gets more into Jets. Wilson, Hall, Becton, Fant, Brown, and that's just through the first 7 games. We lost 2 CJ Mosley seasons the minute we signed him and Carl Lawson. Look, Lawson and CJ have been good this year. It does feel jet-like. I get that. But the other thing, though, is there's been a lot of injuries in the NFL. I mean, the Rams are down to 3rd and 4th string tackles as well. The injuries are all around the NFL. So, like, again, it does feel like it is the Jets. But look, no one's going to feel sorry for the Jets because every other team has major injuries. Everyone needs to get off Zach back. The Broncos have the best pass defense in the NFL and shot down some of the best QBs in the NFL. They coached and did a good job. Look, Justin Herbert, who everyone thinks is God's next gift for quarterbacks, couldn't score a touchdown against this defense. Look, this is a great defense. And this is still a young team. Like, Zach Wilson has only made 17, 18 starts. He's basically played a full rookie season right now. It takes some guys longer to develop. I get it. But even look at his rookie class. Mac Jones can't stay healthy on the field. He might get replaced by Bailey freaking Zappi. Justin Fields is running for his life and looks like he might get decapitated and is struggling with the Bears. Trevor Lawrence is 2-5. Here's a fun fact, guys. Who is the only quarterback in that draft class that's undefeated when he started this year? It rhymes with Mac Gilson. Oh, wait, it's Zach Wilson. So for everyone that's like killing Zach, oh, Zach has sucked. Zach has been terrible. Zach is bad. He isn't turning the football over. He's not killing this team. The Jets don't need Zach Wilson because of how good this defense is and also their special teams. The Jets have great special teams now. They have a good kicker. They have Braden Mann, looks like a great punter. They have a great defense. They have a defense where if you can move the football and be efficient, not shoot yourself in the foot, they'll be fine. I get that everyone wants the next Mahomes. Everyone wants the next Justin Herbert. Everyone wants Zach to take this unbelievable, like throwing 40 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Well, guess what? It's not Madden. He's playing good defenses. And by the way, guys, I hate to remind people this. I know he's got playmakers, but let's see. His starting right tackle, Mekhi Becton's injured. His starting left tackle, George Fant, was injured. The backup to them, Dwayne Brown, is playing with a ripped up shoulder, is not 100%. Oh, yeah, their backup future right tackle, who they really like, is also injured. They were starting someone off the freaking practice squad at right tackle yesterday. Nate Herbig is playing right guard because now Elijah Vera Tucker, who's the Jets' clearly best offensive lineman, is banged up, and hopefully the news on him is good. This offensive line has struggled. They've been bad in pass protection. But despite all that, you know, the Jets have somehow managed to win 4 games with Zach. Like, for everyone that wants to kill Zach and be like, oh, Zach, the Jets don't win the Steelers game without Zach. The Jets don't win that Dolphins game without a couple big plays from Zach. The Jets don't win that Packers game because Zach doesn't turn the football over and Zach hits a big play to Corey Davis, which turned the game. So look, yeah, yesterday was bad. I get it. Yeah, it wasn't pretty watching that. But you know what? Any quarterback that's played that Denver defense, I want to remind people, they have not looked good this year. So please, like it's just, man, like I just it's just crazy. Like I thought the organization issue, but fans are much uh Zach is unable to. Well, we'll see. We'll see. This is going to be on Zach. And look, I keep saying this, good or bad, the Jets need an answer on Zach. I'd rather have an answer of he's not the guy than have a lot of gray or, whoa, he doesn't have enough weapons. Oh, it's the coaching. Like, look, I think you've got the coach, the GM in place. This is all on Zach. If Zach can't do it, the Jets are going to have to look at another option at the end of the season. The Jets might be attractive for another veteran quarterback because they have all these young pieces. Like if you're a quarterback that might want a new team next year, you might be looking at the Jets saying, well, they got a damn good defense. They got some good young offensive linemen. And oh, by the way, they got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall coming back. All of a sudden, like the Jets, they're an attractive place to maybe play if you're a quarterback. Let's see. A lot of comments coming in. He threw the ball 26 times yesterday. So, yeah, I did see him throwing into triple coverage. It wasn't great, but you know who's also been throwing the ball, not protecting the ball? Trevor Lawrence hasn't been protecting the ball. Justin Fields hasn't been protecting the ball. Like everyone's like, I just, he's also young. Like, do we forget this is his second year as a quarterback? Give credit to the coaching staff. They faced adversity and won another game. Winning's important and nitpicking the bad individual stats. Drop turnovers, did stupid fumbles start off the game. Look, it wasn't good. I get it. But I do agree with this. I think Breece Hall is going to be in for a monster year next year. Everyone was touting the offensive line. I was touting it, but I've also been on this channel. If you've been watching me, I've also been airing my concerns with this offensive line still, because they've been better in run blocking than pass protection. Their pass protection's been better, but they also couldn't stop anyone the first couple of weeks. So I guess that's a slight improvement. Look, Dwayne Brown has helped, but you can see he's clearly not 100%. Elijah Vera-Tucker has been ping-ponged all over this offensive line. Look, like the offensive line hasn't been great, but they're better at run blocking. Like that's the thing I look at. They're a better run blocking unit than they are a pass blocking unit. And that's one of the reasons the Jets have been running the football more, is because that's what their offensive line's built to do right now. That's what their strength is right now, because their strength is certainly not passing. Hasn't passed much against any. He averages P pass a game. He also averages less turnovers a game too. So I get the touchdown stats aren't great, but you know what? He's also, where is Garrett Wilson so highly talented? I think you've seen the talent. You saw some great moves yesterday. You saw him break out some tackles. Look, teams are giving him attention. If you watch the film, they're putting the number one corner on him. They're shading the coverage to Garrett Wilson. One of the reasons Wilson hasn't gotten open is because they've been taking him out of games. So for someone like Elijah Moore's been complaining about targets, you're going to get yours. That's one of the reasons Corey Davis was playing so well the last couple of weeks, is because he was basically the second option. They were laying him in one-on-one coverages, and he was being that. It's not, oh my God, like, is it Joe Douglas's fault? Like, basically, if you were to tell any GM your top 4 tackles are going to be injured, like, seriously, like, that doesn't happen except for if you're the Rams. I mean, that's a disaster for any team. I mean, they brought in Dwayne Brown. He got hurt. They drafted Max Mitchell, who looked like a really good player. He got hurt. I mean, the Jets are down to tackles 5 and 6. That's not normal. I mean, and also, if you want to blame the GM, we also got to give credit to that GM for trading up and getting Breece Hall. That GM for drafting Sauce Gardner over Kayvon Thibodeau or a pass rusher and offensive line. That same GM that founded guys like Michael Clemens in the 4th round. Guys that found Max Mitchell in the 4th round that were starting. Let's see. Garrett Wilson. Oh, Jesus. I may have missed the news on AVT. Any updates on when JJ? From what I've gathered, yesterday they made it sounds like the Davis injury wasn't as bad. Yeah, this isn't great either. According to DVOA, the Jets have the hardest remaining schedule going forward. I kind of agree and disagree. I think a lot of that comes because they had to play the Bills twice. But no, I'm checking right now. I'd be more concerned about AVT. That injury is the most concerning to me. That hasn't come out yet. That hasn't come out yet, but it does sound like they are doing that. Corey Davis isn't as bad. I don't get some PFF grade. Like PFF gave like some weird grades. Like Cedric Obuchi had one pressure, Dwayne Brown one pressure. It felt like there was more pressure, although a lot of those seemed like cover sacks too because they were so good at getting down the field. Um, but look, this needs to be something that the Jets need to really push the ball down the field. And I'm curious to see too, because the Jets did attack down the field against the Dolphins. They did against the Steelers. I'm curious to see. Look, let's be frank. The Packers and the Broncos have the 1 and 2 pass defenses. They have corners that can make plays. I mean, you saw it in the Packers game the other day. Their offense is a mess, but their defense is legit. I mean, they had a pick six and I think a couple fumble recoveries against Washington. So look, like those are opportunistic defenses. Now, the Patriots, I don't think are as good as in the past, but they're still a good defense. Look, if you're the Jets, the biggest thing is don't have Zach Wilson cost you the game with this defense. AVT is an elbow. Yeah, I know it's an elbow. I'm not sure what the elbow injury is. Hopefully, the Jets can do that. We can be the Pats, Bills. Not yet. I don't think they're being the Bills. I really don't. Yeah, it's an elbow. And as an offensive lineman, you can usually play with an upper body injury. Now, the thing too is because it's an arm injury, maybe then they'll make them force him to go back to guard where there's a little bit less wear and tear on the upper body. Jair Alexander, and also you had Surtain. I mean, Surtain's the best corner in football, and he was guarding Garrett Wilson yesterday. He wasn't getting open. Rich is right. The last 4 weeks have been against Pittsburgh, Miami, Green Bay, and Denver. Many teams didn't have to throw the ball well against Green Bay, Denver. Judge him till the end. Look, it's not – and, like, I feel like people that aren't supportive of Zach are also going to look at the next 3 games. Like, he's not going to – look, if you're expecting Zach Wilson to have 300 yards against the Patriots defense, I think you're out of your mind. If you're expecting him to have 304 touchdowns against the Bills defense, I think you're out of your mind. Look, the Jets' offensive line isn't great. And part of the problem with the Jets' offensive line isn't just the health and the talent. It's the fact that they keep alternating. Basically, Green Bay, which I thought was their best performance, was the 1 week that they had all 5 players from the previous week. This week, they had a new right tackle in there for the first time. I mean, Nate Herbig's seeming to get more comfortable, but it's clear Dwayne Brown is nursing an injury. I think part of the reason he kept getting those false starts is I think he's trying to get a little bit more of a quick step because he's trying to favor that shoulder. So, look, the Jets, their offensive line, part of it, it's not just the players on the field, it's the cohesion. They haven't had a chance to really gel because they've been ping-ponging so many different positions and so many different players are coming in, which really does make it tough. And look, I do think the Jets, if you add a running back, let's be honest, I'd love for the Jets to add another tackle. Look, I'd call Laramie Tunsil down in Houston. I don't think they'll trade him, but they're also going to cost a higher premium. There's teams right now that have running backs like the Browns, like James Robinson, that are going to be either free agents or they don't want to pay them or they're not playing right now, that teams are willing to move off of. Like, I just have a feeling like you can get a running back and not have to pay a premium. Tackle is going to be tricky. And the other problem, too, with the Jets is you wonder what their thought process is. We don't know what is going on inside their building, but what's the timetable? If they're projecting Max Mitchell could be back before the bye or around the bye, and that George Fant could be back around the bye, I mean, those are 2 huge additions to the offensive line. I know Fant did not play well to start the season, but he wasn't completely healthy. If he's healthy and playing right tackle, that's an upgrade. If Mitchell's back as a swing tackle, that's an upgrade. Like right now, the Jets' offensive line is just holding. Like their biggest thing, I think the bye is going to come at the right time because that's right about the time where you're getting their tackles off the IR. It gives them a week to rest. It gives the guys that are banged up on this offensive line a chance to rest up a little bit and get ready for the second half of the season. Like right now, this offensive line, I don't think their job is really to thrive. It's just to almost survive at this point because Can they get to the bye and have Elijah Vera Tucker healthy on the other side? Can he get to the bye and get Fant healthy? And even Max Mitchell. Max Mitchell was really good when he was on the field. If he's the backup tackle now and you're not playing practice squad players, like that's a huge upgrade to this team. And also, it's going to help these running backs. So let's see. Lots of comments in here. Let's see what they have in Bam Knight against the Pats before they go and sign a running back. Well, they could technically because the deadline is the 1st. But the other thing I'd look at too is like, again, Bam Knight could be good, but I feel like his ceiling could just be a good rotational back. You want to have a home run here. You just lost a home run hitter. I think Kareem Hunt's a home run hitter. There's other guys that are running backs that could be an upgrade. Look, the Jets' strength is running the football, and I think that's why you want to bring him in. Also, the other big thing, too, is Michael Carter gets nicked up, then you're down to Zonovan Knight and Ty Johnson. And look, Billy, do you really feel comfortable with those guys going down the stretch? I really don't think so. Let's see. Jets have weapons they need to use more. Yeah, the tight ends need to have a more prevalent role going forward, especially now with all these injuries. No, nothing on AVT. And from the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like AVT is going to be out a long time. I know, fingers crossed, but it doesn't sound nearly as severe. I mean, look, I was texting Lejay Doozable yesterday about this, and I said, look, how bad do you think this injury is? And he said, like, look, if they're saying he's out before he even goes into the tunnel and before he even gets an x-ray, it's bad. And this is interesting. Brad Stainbrook, Browns are listening to offers for Kareem Hunt per a league source. So it looks like he is on the block. If I'm the Jets, I'm calling. And the other thing, too, is get him before he's taken. Go out and trade for a running back because the Jets are close. Like I said this when they signed Dwayne Brown. When Becton went down, I said, get Dwayne Brown in this building as soon as possible because the worst thing that could happen is another team loses an offensive lineman and then they have that need. So the Jets right now have a big need. But what's to happen next week if another team's big running back goes down? Like if Barkley has to miss a week or two for the Giants, or a team like Leonard Fournette gets nicked up and the Buccaneers are desperate. Like do it now when you have the leverage and there might not be as much competition. I would, and look, if the Browns are looking to move Kareem Hunt, I would do it. I think he is the one guy of all these players that could be a home run hitter. And look, he's going to be motivated. He's going to be a 27-year-old free agent. This is his last chance to cash in. And if he could help the Jets make the playoffs, that is going to look really good on his resume. Let's see. Kind of excited to see what LaFleur has this league. Maybe a new adjustment in the offense. Look, I think that they're going to use, to be honest with you, I think they're going to use Braxton Berrios more. I think what you're going to see is Elijah Moore, if everything works out, is Elijah Moore's going to get more reps in the slot and as a wide receiver. And I feel like you're going to see Braxton Berrios be used more in the running game. Part of the reason I don't think Elijah Moore's getting those jet sweeps is because Jets are worried he could get nicked up and hurt. Braxton's been a good runner. I feel like he could be used as a poor man's Deebo Samuel. I'd be curious to see if they line him up in the backfield as a running back and have him almost be a running back on a couple plays. I really do think that could be something. Ty Johnson's underrated, but the thing with that is, it's one thing to be underrated, but I'm trying to think. Like, I just have the feeling you want to get better. Like the Jets are in a chance to make the playoffs. Like go for it. Be aggressive. And look, teams that are aggressive are usually rewarded. The Rams have been aggressive for years. It's helped them get a Super Bowl. I mean, even the Jets, they were aggressive back in 2009 at the trade deadline. They went out and got Braylon Edwards. Did they really need Braylon Edwards? No. But you know what it did? Improve the receiving core. Here's another good chance. Do the Jets have to have a running back today? No. But would it hurt this team to upgrade the position, add more depth, and maybe add another good player? No, I don't think it would. And the thing that I keep seeing in the chat is I know you want to see what these guys can do, but here's the problem. You're only going to have one game maybe to see it in New England. And is that going to be a big enough sample size? Because the trade deadline is November 1st. You got one more game. And let me ask this. Are you comfortable for 9 games with those 3 running backs. Do you feel like the Jets are going to have a great rushing attack with that? And more importantly, do you think those 3 guys can stay healthy and play every single game in that rotation? And look, I don't think so. Good news is, despite the setbacks, look, that's the other thing too. Like, as much as it's like this might be the most frustrated victory Monday I've ever seen, but the Jets are 5-2. They're finding ways to win. They're overcoming adversity. They're overcoming their bad offensive line, their key injuries. They're overcoming their quarterback play, which hasn't been great. They're overcoming big injuries, and they are winning football games. They are closing out football games. And look, yesterday was the game where you felt if they were the same old Jets, they would have lost that game to a backup quarterback. They would have blown that game down the stretch. And how fitting would have been, like, there's so many times the same old Jets motif could have came up. How many people were expecting, like, CJ Mosley has, which probably is still an interception, gets overturned. How many people were just expecting, watch, the next play, the Broncos are somehow going to score a freaking touchdown and it's the same old Jets. Look, I do think the perception of this team is changing, even though I do hate how nationally people still are viewing it as a joke. Like, even last night on Sunday Night Football, it's like, and the Jets are 5-2. Like, look, Bill Parcells said it best. You are what your record is. The Jets have the 3rd best record in the AFC. I understand that people are going to make excuses about how they got there, but they are taking care of business. They're not trading Elijah Moore. They've already said they're not trading him. Yeah, Kareem is better than Bam. I follow that. Look, Spin Max Dave, I'm not trying to slight Bam. I do like Bam. Is Hunt a good character guy? I do know the character's concern. He's been a model citizen in Cleveland, but here's the other reason, Barney, I would take the risk. He's in a contract year. He's going to be a free agent. You don't think he's on his best behavior to get – this is it for Kareem Hunt. Running backs – people don't want to pay running backs. Like, this is his last opportunity to get paid. He already squandered it the first time when he had to get traded from Kansas City. Yes, the Browns gave him a nice deal to be their backup, and they probably were paying him more than a backup should be getting. They gave him a good deal. But Hunt's already screwed up once to get that max payday. He's not going to be willing to risk it. And right now, he's behind one of the best running backs in football, Nick Chubb. He's not going to get the touches he needs. If he comes to the Jets, he becomes their number 1 running back. And the biggest thing I love about Kareem, he's a great receiving running back. He can make plays on screen passes. And like Hall, he can take a play and turn it into a home run. I like Michael Carter a lot. I like Bam a lot. Bam is still an unknown. I know that Kareem Hunt is still a dynamic player and can still hit a home run. I don't know what I'm getting in Bam. And I'd rather take a risk on someone I know has shown it in this league than someone that I'm hoping. I'm hoping Bam Knight could be good. I really liked him in preseason. I think he can be a good running back, and I think he deserves to be in the running back rotation without question. I'm surprised he hasn't been yet. But everybody that's saying, oh, Bam, Bam, Bam. Look, the Jets need a guy. Kareem Hunt would be the number 1 running back on probably half the teams in the NFL right now. Look, I like James Robinson. Even James Robinson probably could be a starting running back. Dearness Johnson's cheaper, but I do like him a lot. Even David Montgomery. I know it's not the sexiest name, but 25 could be a feature back. I mean, there's some guys that could be a number 1 back on. You can make a case half the teams in the NFL and the Jets could get him at the trade deadline and likely not have to give up an arm and a leg. Now, Hunt would be the tricky one because I do think there's going to be some competition for Hunt. And I do think you'd have to, of all these backs, he'd probably be the one you'd have to give up a day 2 pick. But if I'm the Jets right now and I'm looking to make the playoffs and I'm expecting to make the playoffs, a late 3rd round pick for a rental to help me break a 12-year playoff drought is worth it. It also helps me get clarity because I don't want to because everyone that's been moaning and groaning in this chat about Zach Wilson, if you get Kareem Hunt, it eliminates a variable. Why do you want to eliminate variables? So like I've been saying over and over all season, this season is about getting the answer about Zach Wilson. We don't need him to be a riddle. We don't need him to be a question mark. If we get to the end of the season and Zach struggles, could the organization and people put the debate out there? Well, Zach really, with Breece Hall, like the Jets running game, like they had a decent running game, but it wasn't great. Like he couldn't overcome like a great running game. Like if you put Kareem Hunt in there and Zach isn't thriving or Zach isn't doing well, it just proves that Zach isn't the guy. You need to figure that out and eliminate the variables. Right now, the running back position, and I like Michael Carter. I think Michael Carter is still a very good running back. It's a variable right now. The offensive line is a bit of a variable, but there's not much you can do about it. The running back position you can upgrade. And if the Jets are running the football well and Zach Wilson still isn't playing well, then you have your answer on Zach. And look, I keep seeing people, we will have to see how the next 3 games go. They don't have time for the next 3 games. They don't have time to fix that. The trade deadline is coming up. The trade deadline is after the Patriot game. People are saying, well, we got to test out these running backs. If you don't make the trade before November 1st, guess what? The only way you're going to improve it is free agency. And let's be honest, what's a better option? Kareem Hunt or Phillip Lindsay? What's a better option? David Montgomery or Phillip Lindsay? I mean, there's a reason these running backs are on the free agent market. They're not playing. And Steve brings up a good point. Bam, I think, has a lot of potential, but let's put it this way. If Bam's really that damn good, you don't think he'd be suiting up over Ty Johnson right now? You don't think the Jets would be figuring out a way to get him on this roster? I do think he's got a bright future. Look, Spin Max Dave, this is a mix. I think it should be OT. The problem is offensive tackle is a premium position. And teams, even bad teams, are likely not going to move off of their pieces. Like even Laramie Tunsil is probably the only guy I think that might be on the market, but the Jets are going to have to give up a lot to get him. And I don't think the Jets are willing to do that. And the thing with the offensive line is I really believe that the Jets are looking at that they are getting 2 acquisitions back in the next 2 or 3 weeks. They're getting Fant back and they're getting Max Mitchell back. They are getting those 2 tackles back. So if somehow great tackle is available, maybe Joe Douglas pulls it off, but running back is not the number 1 priority, but of all the positions, it's the one you're most likely to get. You're already seeing it on Twitter. Kareem Hunt, the Browns are 2-5. They don't have a first-round pick. They've traded so many draft picks for Deshaun Watson. They're trying to reload and recap some of those assets because, let's be honest, their season's pretty much over. The Jaguars, I'd call on James Robinson. I'd see if he'd be willing to be moved. I'd be calling the Bears, especially if they go to 2-5 tonight, and see if Dave Montgomery's available. There's a lot of running backs right now that are young, that aren't getting opportunity, and there are on expiring contracts or on contracts that are short-term. If the Jets, and I have to check too with Kareem Hunt, because the compensation picks are so odd now. I don't know how it works, but maybe it could be a situation too, like if Kareem Hunt is traded to the Jets, let's say they trade a 3rd-round pick, like could they get like a 5th-round compensation pick back for him potentially if he signs a big contract for agency? I'm not sure exactly how that works, but that could also be an reason. Yeah, you give up a 3rd, but maybe you can get a day 3 compensation pick back if he signs somewhere in the offseason. Let's see. And like Bart brings up a great point. Zach lost the star running back, his best offensive lineman, his most reliable receiver, and still won. So for everyone that's like killing Zach, I mean, that's a great point. Look, you can go running back by committee, Momo, but what's going to happen in 3 weeks if this running game isn't hitting a big play, isn't consistent? You're like, now is the time where the Jets have to strike. Now is the time where they don't have time. If Breece Hall got injured 2 weeks ago, you'd have a 2-3 week sample size of your running game. You're not going to have that. And you have to rely on your scouts and you have to rely on your front office to go out there and make judgments. Because look, the Jets are at their best when they are running the football effectively. And I like Michael Carter. I think Michael Carter is a good running back, but we've seen it. He can't hit the home run. We've seen that he can be slippery, but he's not someone that's going to take it 50 to 60 yards. I don't think there's really anyone in the market. Maybe James Robinson you could debate, but outside of Kareem Hunt, I don't think like that is the closest to a home run hitting running back that you could get. And if I have to trade a 3rd-round pick to get Kareem Hunt, who is someone that then all of a sudden, like, let me ask you, would you feel a lot better if Michael Carter was your number 2 running back than your feature back going down the stretch of the season? Would you feel a lot better if Kareem Hunt and Michael Carter were your 1-2 punch going against the Patriots twice or the Bills twice Wouldn't you feel a lot better if that was your running back committee than Carter, Johnson, and Bam? Seriously, like it let's see. Lots of good questions out here. Yeah, they signed Remmers and Ibushi. I would call Darren Payne from the Commanders. We have let a few big games on the ground to the Browns and Broncos. Yeah, no, look, they were talking to Linval Joseph. I think if anything, you can get Linval Joseph in here. I think that's look. I was saying last night, sign Linval Joseph and get Nathan Shepard the hell out of here. That's what I personally would do. And yeah, Momo brings up a good point. Carter had the concussion issues last year. Michael Carter, as good as Michael Carter was last year, Michael Carter had injury concerns. Michael Carter, like we were going into later in the season last year because Carter couldn't stay healthy, where the feature backs, like wasn't the Buccaneers game, because I remember talking about it, wasn't the starting running back. It wasn't even Ty Johnson in that game. Who's the freaking start? Like trivia question, guys. Who was the freaking running back starting for in the Buccaneers game last year? Because I know Carter was hurt. Johnson was one thing. I knew it was like their fourth running back, basically. And I like Michael Carter, but look, this is what Michael Carter is right now. 213 carries, 800 yards, 4.1 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns as a rusher. Now, as a receiver, he's been decent. But look, that's a solid running back. It's not great. Isn't bad. It's good. It's a solid running back. So look, I'm just serious. Like, I think the Jets have to be aggressive this trade deadline. Like, you cannot waste this season. You cannot waste a opportunity like this where the Jets can go to the playoffs, where the Jets can break this playoff drought. And even Connor McGovern, 15 minutes ago, Jets are built like a ground and pound team. Thinks the team can win by throwing the ball too if they have to. But they're at their best when they are running the football. Go out and get Kareem Hunt. Go out and get someone that can make plays. And it doesn't even have to be Kareem Hunt. It doesn't even have to be him. It could be James Robinson. It could be David Montgomery. Jamal Williams from the Lions is another good player. Like, there's good running backs. Heck, I wouldn't even be against getting 2 running backs. Maybe you go out and get Hunt or one of these guys and you sign a Philip Lindsay. Look, the Jets also look at their staff and like they're going to have to make a judgment. If they really believe in these guys to this extent, fine. But if it doesn't work out well, that's going to be a big indictment on this town evaluation. I mean, seriously, it's Jets need to trade for is okay, but Smalls, yeah. Like Carter last year, let me play a fun game with you guys. How many games did Michael Carter play last year? How many games? And how many games did he start? He started 11 games last year. He played in 14. So he missed about a quarter of the season last year. And now you want him to be the feature back. And look, Breece, like this is the other thing too. Like I keep saying this about the Jets. I think they're ahead of schedule. I think they're good this year. I think they're going to be really damn good next year when Sauce gets a year on his belt, Breece is back and healthy with a chip on his shoulder, another year seasoning for Elijah Vera-Tucker. Like I think the Jets are going to be even better. But in the short term, find out about your quarterback, eliminate the variables. And look, the teams that are aggressive in this league are the teams that are usually winning. The Bills were aggressive with Stephon Diggs. Look what that has done for them. The Buccaneers were aggressive in getting Tom Brady. Look what that's done for him. The Rams had a Super Bowl quarterback, and they still went and traded for Matthew Stafford and won them a Super Bowl. You know what teams are struggling in the NFL? It's the conservative teams. It's the teams that didn't take big swings. And when I say big swings, I mean dumb swings like the freaking Browns. That was just a dumb swing with Deshaun Watson. But teams that are aggressive are teams that usually are rewarded. The Jets, be aggressive at this trade deadline. Even as Jet fans, we're not asking this team to go 8-2 down the stretch. We're not asking this team. The Jets just need to be a 500 football team. The Jets just need to be 10-7, and they're going to make the playoffs. They're not winning this division. I really just don't think. Right now, it's the Chiefs, the Bills, and everyone else. Like, that is the buildup. But Robinson, he's the running back for the Jaguars. He was the one that remembered that they were like, why is he not playing last year? He already had four touchdowns in the first 3 games. Didn't play a snap yesterday with the Jaguars because it's clear they're trying to get Etienne in. And look, the Jaguars spent a first-round pick on Etienne. It's clear he has chemistry with Lawrence. They're 2-5. I'd take a shot. I really would. Do you think JD would give up what the Browns want for Hunt? Look, the Browns, I don't think could be asking too much. Like even Christian McCaffrey, who is arguably one of the most talented offensive weapons in the league and probably the number 2 or 3 running back in the league. Be honest, like even though it was 4 picks, if you did the point value, you know what the point value was? It was the 30th pick in the draft. 30th pick in the draft for him. So at this point, Kareem Hunt's a backup running back for them. If I'm the Jets, I'd offer a third. And I don't know if they'd be interested in Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall could also be an intriguing factor too. Because let's also throw this out there. Could Breece Hall be used in a package to get a running back? Yeah. I don't think that it would work with the Browns, but let's throw this out there. The Jets trade their 3rd round pick for Kareem Hunt. But then before the trade deadline, they also move Breece Hall. And they get I think they would like a 4th, but let's even say they get similar value. They get a 5th round pick. So the Jets, yes, they lose a day 2 pick, which is valuable, but it's a late day 2 pick, hopefully. And then they gain basically a day 3 pick. And with all the picks they now have on day 3, and they have a couple, they could easily go back up and get into the 3rd round. So basically, it's not that big of a loss. Let's see. Jets will always have all line issues. Like it's not just the Jets; everyone's team have freaking offensive line issues. Jets are in danger to lose 3. Look, I said this is going to be the toughest stretch for the Jets right now. I really think this next 3 games are going to be tough. They need it. I'm even being concerned. I think Jets need to go 1-2. Jets need to steal 1 game from the Patriots, go 1-2, and I think they'll be fine. Even to worst case, they go 0-3. It's a tough stretch, and it's painful to lose those 3 division games. But I still think the Jets would still be in a great position. If I would study the Jets for 5-5 through the 10-win mark, you'd sign up for that. No, I'm talking the corner Breece Hall. So, and the Jets also have a history of trading with the Browns. Billy brings up a good point. So they do have familiarity with that organization. Coleman's with the 49ers right now. Dak's got to step up now. Look, it's clear he's got to step up. I don't think that is much of a look. Let's be honest. The Breece Hall injury sucks. It's a blow. It's rough. Everything that's happened with this. But look, the Jets, they cannot let this be what derails their season. And look, teams face this adversity all the time. But you cannot let good teams find a way to make it work. And as much as I love Breece Hall, as much of an impact he has on the game, there are much more impactful positions in the NFL, which would be harder to lose. I think if this team was to lose one of their defensive pieces, that would be a bigger loss to overcome. If Elijah Vera Tucker does miss more than 2 or 3 games, and we're still waiting on that news, that would be a huge loss. Like there's certain positions, like running back, it was a great luxury. But I would even argue Zach Wilson, because Zach Wilson, if they don't have his mobility, they don't win these last 4 games. Look, I really hope that they're going to be 6-3. They gotta. What would it be? So 6-3, they got to beat the Patriots, and then they got to beat the Bills. Look, I think they'll lose the Bills. I really do think they're going to beat the Patriots this week. The Patriots, like this is a game the Jets should win because they're coming off the short week. They're coming off the Monday night game. They're playing the Jets at home. I think that crowd's going to be absolutely revved up. And look, if the Jets don't turn the football over, I think they'll be fine. Like the Patriots defense is good, but their offense is limited. I think this Jet defense can slow this offense down. I think it's going to be another ugly game, but I think the Jets with their special team defense are going to win that game. Let's see. And he's your whole offense. I don't want to hear impact. Imagine Hall running behind Becton. Yeah, that's going to be a sight to see next year. I mean, hopefully Becton can get healthy. I mean, look, I still think the Jets are going to be a much better team in 2023 than 2022. But I do think that you want to see this team be aggressive. And look, for people saying that they're not an aggressive team, never forget that they were trying to get Tyreek Hill. They've traded up in the draft. They feel there's a piece. And look, if I'm them right now and these rumors are true, I would go out and try to get Kareem Hunt. I really would try to go out and get him. I think there's some there, even if they don't get Hunt, they get one of these other running backs. There's some good running backs in this league. There are still some good options like James Robinson out there. There's still some really good ones, but there is only like really one home run hitter out there at the running back position. It's Kareem Hunt. Michael Carter from the Jets. I prepare all the time. I'm the only one back on the team. I understand that I'm not preparing myself for these games. Just talking about the Patriots and their film study. Let's see. I mean, Breece Hall in good spirits about the injury, which is good to hear. And I mean, look, the Jets, I would like to see them go out there and make a move. Be aggressive, go out there and make up for it. But the good news is for me, they did not miss on this Breece Hall pick. It's an absolute gut punch, but the Jets have a superstar. And look, I think he's going to be unbelievable next year because I guarantee you he's going to be pissed that he did not get a chance to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I think he's going to come back and want to show what he can do. So, yeah, it's been quiet. I mean, Becton's been on Twitter. He's so he seems to be at least in good spirits, which is good. So, let me block that. Okay. But again, guys, if you're joining us after this and you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat. I'd love to get to your questions next time. Because you guys always have really good opinions and you guys help make the show really what it is. I want to see Conklin Uzama use more. Yep, I completely agree. I do want to see them use more as well. Patriots and Bills will be the ultimate test of Zach. Their defense will force Zach to throw and not rely on the game. Look, it's a lot on Zach, but I also want to see LaFleur. Like, they need to get the ball out quick. I think that they're trying to. A lot of me wants to see them push the ball down the field a couple times a game, but I also think that they need to get him more in a rhythm. They need to get Zach on short, easy throws to get into a rhythm early and help develop that. Put Ruckert in. I think Ruckert's going to be a good long-term player. I still think they're trying to get him up to speed too. But look, guys, you guys were awesome. Again, it sucks. Breece Hall's out for the season, but I do think the Jets will be aggressive at the trade deadline. I gave you a list of running backs who I'd like them to see target. But let's also be honest. There's other positions and there's other players out there. I'd love to hear what you guys would love to see the Jets do at the trade deadline. We, of course, will do an episode as we get closer. And if the Jets do make a trade, we'll be the first to react to it. So if you want to get live reaction, please give us a subscribe so you don't miss any of that great content. If you know any Jets fans that are looking for great Jets content, tell them about our channel. Follow us on Rich Sports Talk on Twitter. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's a bittersweet Victory Monday, but it's still a Victory Monday for the New York Jets. So I have to remind people our 5-2 football team and have vastly exceeded expectations here. But we will see you next time here on Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us.